In my part 1 deep dive, I promised you guys a part 2 once I hit the 30-hour mark in Dragonkin. But then the developers dropped a massive February 25th multiplayer patch. It changed so much of the core game that I spent my entire weekend playing. Hit 23 hours way faster than I expected, and we are doing this right now. Kiwi Bro here. Today we are breaking down this major progression overhaul, how the new Chaos Hunts feel to play, and deciding if this game is officially ready for the 1.0 launch. Let's get into data. The devs actually listened to the community. Fragment rotation is officially here. Basic attacks no longer generate energy, meaning it's a pure spender system now. And that blind progression I complained about, fixed. The new Master of Fragments vendor lets you preview every single skill to plan your build and buy 1 hex starter skills instantly. Let's start with the biggest change, the combat flow. Generators are gone. Dragonkin is officially a spender-only ARPG. Every class now has a passive energy regeneration. Your heavy skills spend it, and your basic attacks are just free filler when you're completely tapped out. If you love the fluid, aggressive pacing of Diablo 3 Wizard, this feels exactly like that. The Ancestral Grid is also a mechanical overhaul. Since now level up from rank 1 to 4 based on modifier thresholds. In my part 1 video, I told you Symbiosis required 8 modifiers. That was true then, but the patch completely rewrote the rules. Now Symbiosis triggers the moment your skills hit rank 4. The math behind effective power gets pretty deep, so let me know in the comments right now. Do you guys want a dedicated video or a live Twitch stream where I explain my exact grid logic and how I build my board? But the most requested grid change from the community is pure quality of life, fragment rotation. It's a perfect modifier drops, but it's shaped awkwardly. Well, just rotate it and snap it in. It doesn't ruin the puzzle aspect of the grid. On the contrary, it opens up whole new possibilities in theory crafting. Of course, rotating fragments doesn't mean much if you can't actually find the skills you want to use. And that brings us to one of the biggest city upgrades in the patch, the Master of Fragments. The Master of Fragments completely cures the blind progression I complained about in part 1. This vendor sells 1 hex starter versions of every character skill. This means you can preview everything, plan your board, and start using a specific build before the perfect fragment even drops. And once you upgrade his shop, he starts selling whirling skills too, letting you easily mix and match your dragon companion's abilities without relying on pure RNG. Speaking of upgrades, the City of Montescail got a big progression overhaul. Pre-patch, you had to make a frustrating choice, like deciding between unlocking the Jeweler to craft rings or the Dragonic Atlas to start stacking Mastery XP. Now the city follows a linear leveling path. You get all those essential shops automatically as the city levels up. But don't worry, they didn't dump the city down. Instead of choosing between shops, you now spend your points in the new City talent tree to unlock specific perks. You can prioritize the ability to craft rare rings, or my personal favorite, unlocking the Divine Familiar. This pet automatically vacuums up your gold and crafting materials while you smash your dragons to bits. Toss in the fact that crafting armor for your Wyrmling is significantly cheaper and easier now, and the quality of life in town is night and day. There are tons of other city secrets to unlock, but let's talk about where you're really going to spend the vast majority of your time. The newly overhauled Endgame. Here is the reality of Dragonkin's progression. Now, the main story campaign ends up surprisingly early, right around level 20. But the push to level 50 cap is not just a boring grind, it's a structured adventure. And to help with that, the developers just injected a huge 30% global XP buff. Drop a comment below, have you felt the leveling speed up since the patch? To get to level 50, you're going to be tackling 2 very different types of hunts. First are the standard hunting maps. Think of these as your post-campaign story quests. They have pre-decided bosses and give you permanent stat bonuses and or tributes. More on that later. But more importantly, they act as a gear checks. A later hunt might be locked to hard difficulty at a minimum. It's just like a capstone dungeon in Diablo. If you can't beat it, the game is telling you that you're ready to bump up your world tier for better loot and gold. Then you have the Chaos Hunts. These are your infinitely repeatable farming loops. You pick the boss type, like a champion or a dungeon purification, choose your biome, and apply modifier cards. These cards add nasty penalties but greatly increase your final loot quality. This is how you do target farm gear. And you're going to need that gear to interact with the final layers of progression, the tribute wall and the Grand Benefactor. By taking the tributes you earn from hunts and matching their icons on your wall to a specific ancestor, you unlock powerful passive bonuses. Once you hit level 50, all your excess XP levels up to that chosen ancestor for even bigger buffs. Meanwhile, you take all your unneeded legendary items and fragments to the Grand Benefactor and literally sacrifice them to permanently buff your talents or modifiers. To survive those forced difficulty hunting maps and truly max out your ancestors, you're going to need perfectly rolled endgame gear. We're going to do a deep dive purely into deep itemization and the Benefactor in part 3. But looking at the foundation they just laid down with this patch, is Dragonkin actually ready for its 1.0 launch? My verdict? It's in a drastically better position than my initial review. The February 25th patch proves Eko Software is looking at the data. Do I guarantee this loop won't get repetitive after another 30 hours? No. But it is absolutely worth the 20 to 30 hours I've put in so far. They're trying something genuinely new here. Plus right now, there is zero pay to win garbage and no forced battle passes. Though I'll remain highly skeptical to see if they try to sneak in those later. The talent and the legendary system has me hooked, and this is officially becoming a 3-part series. I'm going to drop part 3 once I hit the 100-hour mark, which should line up perfectly with the official 1.0 launch later this month. We're going to cover everything from deep itemization to Grand Benefactor. But even with all these massive progression upgrades, the core combat is what will ultimately make or break your experience. If you want to see exactly how the boss mechanics and the class pacing feels before you buy the game, you need to see what I broke down in part 1 right here. Click this and I'll see you there. Chiwi Bro out.